Good evening. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and this evening will be a card review of the War Machine Hero Pack. So we'll take a look. Lately, it's been quite a while since we've had a hero pack that I would really recommend, with the possible exception of Venom. At the top of the meta of the heroes that I have seen has been Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Ant-Man for quite a while, with Iron Man entering into the S tier with the addition of tech upgrades. But it's been a while since we've seen a hero that I really thought was strong. I did think that the Mighty Avengers from the Mad Titan Shadow expansion box is very strong, but that's an aspect card. We'll take a look at War Machine and see what we think. The Alter Ego James Rhodes. Choose a War Machine card in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. That's not really anything. After you change to this form, discard each ammo counter from your identity. Okay, that doesn't mean anything yet. So we got the standard 6 hand size, 10 hit points. War Machine has 1/2/2 stats. After you change to this form, place 5 ammo counters on War Machine. The stats are like the inverse of Iron Man, who has 2/1/1 stats. Let's continue. We don't know what the ammo counter's value is yet. However, if you only gain them when you change to this form, that means this is going to be another hero where you have to switch between Alter Ego and hero form. And that's 2 in a row with Nebula and then War Machine, and such heroes tend to be weak in solo play because you really don't want to be switching to Alter Ego in solo play, especially on higher difficulties. The hero-specific ally is Iron Man, a 3-cost ally with 2/2/3. After Iron Man enters play, search your deck and discard pile for a tech upgrade and add it to your hand. That's a strong ally. He's not exceptional, but he's close to it. He's very strong. He's above average even for a hero-specific ally. So I like it. It's basically 4 thwart or 4 attack, a chump block, and draw a card. A specific card, which probably will be better on average than another card, an aspect card or a basic card. Munitions Bunker, 2-cost support, Alter Ego action, exhaust Munitions Bunker, place 2 ammo counters here. Hero action, exhaust Munitions Bunker, move each ammo counter here to War Machine. Okay, this is the standard Alter Ego support that every hero gets. They get one of these, a card that does something when you go down to Alter Ego, which usually only gets used once per game in solo, if that, and so most of the time we throw it away to use as a resource. Upgraded Chassis, 3-cost upgrade, War Machine gains aerial. After you change to hero form, exhaust Upgraded Chassis, give War Machine a tough status card. Well, sad to see a focus on flipping between Alter Ego and hero in solo, because it's not good when that happens. This is a repeatable effect, which means it's a ramp card. Gets more efficient the more times you use it in terms of providing value for the cost. So after you change to hero form, give War Machine a tough status card. You'd need to do that at least twice to make this decent. 3 times would be exceptional. But in solo, you really don't want to switch to Alter Ego except in an emergency. And so needing to flip from Alter Ego back to hero 3 times in a game is probably a prohibitive cost in terms of making this card good. It just isn't going to happen in solo. Or you're probably going to die in the attempt to make this card good, or throw it out. Gauntlet Gun, a 2-cost upgrade, exhaust Gauntlet Gun, generate a resource, wild resource for a War Machine event, and place 1 ammo counter on War Machine. Okay, that's great. That's a fine ramp card. Better on average than similar cards that other heroes get, because in addition to the resource, you get 1 ammo counter. You get 2 of those. That's great. Missile Launcher, 1-cost upgrade, exhaust Missile Launcher, and remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine. Deal 2 damage to an enemy This attack gains ranged. Okay, repeatable effects are good. Having to switch between alter ego and hero form in order to take advantage of them is bad. Let's see what else he's got. Shoulder cannon, 2 cost upgrade. What we'd like to see is more ways to generate ammo counters while in hero form. Shoulder cannon, exhaust. Shoulder cannon, deal 1 damage to an enemy. You may remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine to ready shoulder cannon. Probably not going to want to use ammo counters that way, since the ammo counters have at least a value of 2. Using 1 to ready a upgrade which only deals 1 damage seems inefficient. In fact, probably, well, you don't have to use an ammo counter to get 1 damage from this, so it's good. It's a fine ramp card. You're almost never going to want to use an ammo counter to ready it, though. That would be a real emergency. But, yeah, not likely to want to use ammo counters that way. Repulsor beam, remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine, deal 4 damage to an enemy. It's an event. It would be fine if you just dealt 4 damage to an enemy without needing to use an ammo counter. With using an ammo counter, that's an additional cost that makes this card pretty meh, I would say. 1 cost for 4 damage with no additional cost would be fine. But with the additional cost of removing an ammo counter, I probably would want to use my ammo counters on missile launcher. Or we'll see what his other cards are. So he gets a couple of those repulsor beams. Targeted strike. Remove 1 ammo counter from War Machine and remove 3 threat. Again, just removing 3 threat for 1 cost wouldn't be that good. I wouldn't play this card if it was a Justice card and it said remove 3 threat for 1 cost. With the additional cost of needing to remove an ammo counter, this isn't good. These events so far are underwhelming for what they cost. Because we're risking everything switching to alter ego each time we do it in solo. Typically, whenever I switch to alter ego, I'm expecting that the villain's going to advance the scheme, and so I really only get to do that once per scenario, because if the scheme advances twice, usually you lose. Occasionally, if you have a strong setup, you can get away with flipping to alter ego multiple times, but if you have a strong setup, you probably don't need these extra powerful cards. If your setup is strong enough that you can flip to alter ego, then you probably don't need any additional power. So far these events are underwhelming. Scorched Earth, 3 cost event, remove 3 ammo counters from War Machine, deal 3 damage to each enemy in play. We need to damage 4 enemies this way to make this exceptional. We got 12 damage out of it. Maybe even a little more considering you have to remove 3 ammo counters. That's not going to happen a lot though in solo. It will happen a lot in multiplayer though. So this is a card that in 4-player multiplayer could be quite strong. Maybe even the best card in his set. In full 4-player multiplayer. In solo, no, it's not going to be good very often. Maybe every now and then it's like a boss had a real strong turn and brought 3 enemies out and you can deal 3 damage to all of them and it'll be really good, but that'll be rare in solo. But in like 4-player multiplayer, the more encounter cards that you're seeing, the more enemies that are coming into play, the more likely this is going to be good. And given that the requirement for this to take advantage of this hero is that you need to switch to alter ego fairly regularly, I would say that this is really like a 3 or 4-player multiplayer focused hero. Even there, I don't think he's going to be exceptional or anything like that, but at least he'll be playable in that scenario, whereas in solo, I don't really think he is very playable. Full auto, 2 cost event, remove 4 ammo counters from War Machine and choose an enemy, deal 8 damage to that enemy. Okay, it's strong damage. It's also a heavy cost. You'll basically have to flip to alter ego after you do this. So how many of these do we get? 2 of those? Yeah. So yeah, this hero seems quite weak to me in solo. In 4-player multiplayer, he's gonna be usable. He's gonna have the capacity to do a pretty dramatic play, which will be fun to do with his Scorched Earth. But yeah, I don't think I could recommend this hero, except for thematic reasons, and then probably only for like a 4-player multiplayer group. Based on his hero cards. Let's take a look at the aspect cards. Black Panther, T'Challa, 4 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack. After Black Panther enters play, choose a leadership event in your discard pile and attach it to him face down. You can play the attached event as if it were in your hand. That's not a very strong effect. It has some combo potential, but I don't think it's very strong. Well, let's say you used it for well, you couldn't use it for Welcome Aboard. What could you use it for that would be very good? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a combo card, but it's hard to set up any of the leadership combos in solo, and they don't tend to be very efficient without a lot of effort setting them up. I don't think this version of Black Panther is very good. It seems very underwhelming. Even if we gave him a lot of the benefit of the doubt about this response, even then, I don't think he's good. This is a very underwhelming ally. I see this as one of the worst allies that I've seen. Unless this response just has some crazy combo potential that I'm not seeing. But yeah, right now you get 1 attack out of him and then a chump block, and you get 1 event from your discard pile that you can play. Again, a leadership event. That isn't good. That's very, very underwhelming. Captain Marvel, 5 cost ally, 2 thwart, 3 attack. After Captain Marvel enters play, discard the top 4 cards of your deck. If you discard a lightning resource, deal 3 damage. If you discard more than 1 lightning resource, also stun that enemy. They have to be printed lightning resources, so they can't be wild resources. That is interesting. So you can get 6 thwart, a chump block. And then if you get the 3 damage and the stun, then this is close to exceptional, very strong. But anything less than that and it's kind of meh. And if you don't get either of those, it's pretty bad. It's a 5 cost ally, hard to play. Well, if you have a lot of printed lightning resources in your deck, but the maximum upside for this ally still isn't that good. It's not even to like Hawkeye levels or White Tiger levels. So tough to make this work. When it does, it's close to exceptional, but not quite there. When it doesn't work, it's kind of meh. And its downside is quite weak. So probably it's hard to justify running this ally. I think there are better options available. Falcon we've seen before. Goliath we've seen before. Command Team. 2 cost support. Uses 3 command counters. Exhaust command team and remove 1 command counter from it to ready an ally. I don't value readying an ally very highly at all. Since they take consequential damage, readying them and using them again just hastens their defeat. Unless you have a way to heal them, which you don't in solo play. So I don't see myself ever running this card for solo. I just don't put much value on readying an ally. It's a combo thing, right? If you had like Avengers Assemble, if you're buffing your allies temporarily, this is a situation in which you would want to ready them multiple times, but those combos are inefficient, hard to set up, so say this is a more fun or thematic card. Sneak Attack, that was a Lord of the Rings LCG card. Choose an ally in your hand that shares a trait with your identity. Put that ally into play. If that ally is still in play at the end of the phase, discard it. Almost exactly what sneak attack did in Lord of the Rings LCG, except worse because in that game you brought the ally back to your hand at the end of the phase instead of discarding it. So you get a temporary use of the ally at a great discount. At the end of the phase, not at the end of the round, so you can't have the ally take a chump block. You're only playing it for its on-revealed or when enters play effect, or, you know, when you play this effect. There are a few allies that's okay with, like White Tiger. Yeah, it's okay with White Tiger. Maybe Nick Fury. Yeah, so there are a few allies that this is okay with. I'm not sure how many of them you would need to include this card in your deck, because if you have a combo where this sneak attack, there's really only like 2 or 3 allies you want to use this with, then it may sit around in your hand waiting to set up the combo, and if you don't want it to sit around in your hand waiting to set up a combo, then the combo just isn't going to happen very often. This card wouldn't be playable very often. You'll use it for resources. And in that scenario, probably want to run a card that's usable more often. So this can be good. I think the situation where it is good is probably pretty niche, and therefore clogs up the hand and doesn't do much a lot of the time. Every now and then it'll be decent, could even be exceptional if you use it with like Nick Fury to draw 3 cards for 1 cost plus the card. That's good, but that's very niche, so probably not a card I'd use right now. But as the card pool expands and more allies enter the card pool that may want to use this, it may get more playable as time goes on. Save the Day. 1 cost event. Discard an ally you control. Remove threat from a scheme equal to that ally's printed cost. That's good value, except that we already get good value out of allies that we don't mind discarding, and that's with use as a chump blocker. So this is like a lateral move, and you have to spend 1 resource for it, so I don't think that's very good. Except in an emergency where you absolutely have to have the threat removal or you'll die. And in that case, I don't think that's a situation that you want to plan for. So I don't really see running Save the Day. Go down swinging. Discard an ally you control. Deal damage to an enemy equal to that ally's printed cost. Similar situation. And once again, even if we got 4 damage out of it, it seems like 4 damage for 0 cost is good. But we probably would have used that ally to chump block for like 4 or 5 or 6 damage even. So it's a lateral move, and you have to use a card to use it to get that lateral move, so I don't think it's very good. If this was like an upgrade and you could do it anytime you wanted, it would be good, I think, just for its versatility. But as an event, no, probably not. You'd need like a 5 cost ally probably to make this decent. If you were discarding a 5 cost ally, okay, there's a reasonable argument for that. But there's not that many 5 cost allies you want to run, and that means this would sit around clogging up your hand while you wait for that situation. Make the Call, we've definitely seen. Innovation, Mockingbird, Quinn Carrier, 2 Against the World. Team up Iron Man and War Machine. Search your deck for a tech upgrade and put it into play. Ready Iron Man and War Machine. Okay, so you get good value for this. Not exceptional, but good value. But team ups are hard to make work in solo. So this would be a card where if you're playing Iron Man and War Machine heroes, you could do this. And it would be worth including in that situation. But not for solo. Alrighty, so we've got the other aspect cards to look at as well. As one 2-cost Alliance. Alliance means that any player on the team can contribute to paying for the card, which is irrelevant in solo play, but can be. So this just reinforces my opinion that this hero pack is a very multiplayer focused hero pack. 2-cost event, exhaust an Avenger and a Guardian, deal X damage to an enemy where X is the combined attack of those characters. This attack gains overkill. So this provides a use for allies that are just kind of sitting around, not doing much. You can exhaust them because they've maxed out their damage. You can exhaust them and deal their damage, and you can have other players pay for it with extra cards that they have that they were going to throw away. This is a very multiplayer focused card. I don't think it's going to be usable very often in solo. It's hard to set up. You don't get to take advantage of the Alliance keyword to have players use cards to pay for it that they were going to discard anyway. So no thank you in solo. In multiplayer, interesting concept. I think it gets better the more players you have in the game. Might be something worth messing around with if you know what's in their decks and you know that this situation's going to come up relatively frequently. Yeah, probably less than 3 or 4 players. I don't think so, but maybe with 3 or 4 players. The Alliance keyword is certainly interesting. Vigilante training support uses 2 training counters, alter ego action. Exhaust this card and remove 1 training counter from it. Choose a Justice event in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. I don't assign any value to shuffling a card from your discard pile into your deck, and therefore I think you're paying 1 cost plus the card for basically nothing. Unless there's some kind of counter that's going to be taking advantage of that, or combo that's going to be taking advantage of shuffling events from your discard pile into your deck. Or, yeah. Otherwise, I would really never play this or consider playing it. Especially since it's an alter ego action. Stand Together, another Alliance card, 4-cost event. When a friendly character would take any amount of damage from an attack, exhaust an Avenger and a Guardian. Prevent all of that damage. Deal that much damage to the attacking enemy. You'd probably need to prevent and rebound 5 damage from this to make this good. And once again, it's a multiplayer focused card. Don't think it's ever really playable in solo. In a 3 or 4 player game where somebody's playing a Guardian deck, somebody's playing an Avenger deck, okay, could be playable. Could even be good if you get some heavy boss attacks for 5 or 6 and you get to reflect that back at him and pay for it using cards that were going to be thrown away anyway. Yeah, I could see that. But in solo or even 2-player, probably not playable. Sidearm, attached to an ally, 1 cost, max 1 per ally. Attached ally gets +1 attack and its attacks gain ranged. As I've said many times, we don't really like ally attachments in multiplayer because they just don't, or solo, I mean, because they just don't stick around very long without the ability to heal them. In multiplayer, you could get value out of this if you could keep the ally on the board for, I don't know, 4 rounds or so, but healing doesn't tend to be very efficient or repeatable right now, so you probably would have to accept a lot of inefficiency in order to do that. I don't even think attachments would be that good in multiplayer either, just because healing really isn't very efficient. And you'd have to run healing in order to get full value out of the attachments, the ally attachments. 2 Against the World we've seen, and that is it for War Machine. Well, this is a very multiplayer focused hero pack. So for multiplayer, there's some cards here that would be fun. War Machine would be fun in a 4-player game, I think. As one, Stand Together might be pretty fun in multiplayer. I don't know that they'd be very strong though, so I could only really recommend this for players that get into 3 or 4 player games a lot and have more of a fun or thematic focus. You're not going after like the heroic 1 difficulty or heroic 2 in your 4-player game. You're just having fun and playing thematic decks. And in that case, if you like the War Machine character, sure, I could see that being fun. But I wouldn't expect a very powerful hero, with the exception of a possible very dramatic Scorched Earth play from time to time. But we'll test out War Machine in solo and see what we think. And thank you for watching.